Crack that. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everybody doing? Man, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, huh? Crazy. Who we got? Kathy's in the house. Carol Prince. JJ's here. Dale from Ohio. We got Delbert Jones in the house. Welcome, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well. Ah, man, been a long week. It's been a long week. Uh, I'm still, it's funny. I'm still not 100%. Um, I thought I would be feeling much better by this point, but it has not been the most pleasant experience. And then I'm trying to get around, see everybody, and all that kind of stuff, and it's just it's kind of been rough. But it happens. What are you going to do, right? Nobody cares. But anyway, before we jump into anything, I just want to remind everybody that this is a very family-friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you can't abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches will boot you out of here. I would ask you to please not engage with any trollish comments that come on. Just let my moderators deal with them because they're looking for attention. So let's not give that to them, okay? I get to be the a-hole in replying to comments. That's my job. But during a live stream, I don't have time to deal with stupid stuff. So I always let my moderators do that then. But yeah, I deal with the morons that come on the channel and make stupid comments and all that fun stuff. So, but anyway, first of all, I want to wish everybody, and I'll do a quick video tomorrow. Probably just going to be doing one tomorrow, but tomorrow's obviously Thanksgiving for the United States. So please, everyone, please be careful. Please be safe. Get to where you need to get to safe. Have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Definitely do not drink and drive. It's not worth it. Cops are going to be out. They're going to be out. So, it's just like I said, it's just not worth it. So, all right. So anyway, let's get into this. When I put this title for the video up, obviously the shooting in Washington, D.C. hadn't happened yet. And so I was, I was going to talk about crime and all the other stuff and how, certain states are acting and reacting. I just, and then we have this shooting down in Washington where 2 National Guard members were targeted. And so a couple things I'm going to mention with this, okay? All right. So isn't it interesting if there's a shooting, right? If there is a shooting, and if that shooting is done by a white male, they're like, boom, all over it in the media. Like when the kid tried to assassinate Trump in Pennsylvania, what was the first things that you heard, right? And also the one that assassinated Charlie Kirk. What was the first things you heard? Oh, they're part of MAGA. They're a white supremacist and all that type of stuff. And in both cases, obviously, that turned out not to be what it was. So they got to paint them in a certain way for their audience, if you will, instead of getting all the factual information first. Now, this person, I'm not going to call him a gentleman because he's not a gentleman. The person that shot these 2 National Guard members, they showed him being loaded up into an ambulance. Okay, non-life-threatening injuries for him. The 2 National Guard members are fighting for their lives in local hospitals right now. And the thing with this, okay, you look at the guy, black hair, black beard, okay, could he be white? Could be, don't know, right? Could he be Hispanic? Could he be Middle Eastern, right? Very possible. Not saying what he was because I don't know. But I noticed when the shooter doesn't fit the narrative for the legacy news media, they're not jumping out there right away and saying, oh, it was this kind of a male that did this shooting. They don't want that out there. They don't want that information out there if it doesn't fit the narrative. Um, Carol says they died. I'm hearing mixed things, Carol. I heard first that they had died, and then they were from West Virginia, and then that was retracted back that they weren't dead yet, that there was a lot of misinformation going on. So I don't know if they're still alive or not. The last information that I saw, the alleged suspect is believed to be an Afghan national. Isn't that interesting, Dale from Ohio? Imagine that. Imagine that. So, but yeah, the information will come out. So, yeah, so much for ABC News, right? Yeah, I hear you. But like I said, if they're alive or not, these things are going to continue to happen because of the rhetoric that's being put out there by a lot of these politicians. And I blame them first. Like I was going to talk about something else too, which I thought was interesting. So up in Minnesota, ICE had done a coordinated effort to do something. And Tim Walz has the balls, and I'm sorry, but this is what I said, has the balls to go, oh, well, they never coordinated with us. We didn't know it was going to happen. They didn't tell us it was going to happen. Well, of course they didn't tell you, because you would do everything in your power to stop it. This is what the insanity is to me, guys, okay? You have crime rampant in some of these cities that are being targeted, okay? Washington, D.C. is a great example of that. And so they bring in the National Guard. Crime goes down because now you have that presence. And I get the slippery slope of U.S. troops on U.S. soil patrolling the streets. I get that, and I understand that. But the problem is this. When you have local governments, right, that do nothing to stop the crime, that have a revolving door crime system where these people are, no cash bail, so they're get an appearance ticket, they're right back out on the street again. There is no incentive for them not to continue to commit crimes. There's not. And so who suffers? Joe, law-abiding citizen. That's who suffers because of the policies of these idiots that are in office. And then when you have a president that says, hey, I'm sending help. Oh, we don't want your help. We don't need that and stuff like that. But yet when you ask the people, the people, local people like, yeah, please bring them in, stop this. It has to come to a point. It has to stop. And I'm so sick and tired. I'll be honest with you. All right. And, I'm not I like Trump, and I'll be the first to admit I like Trump. Okay. So I'm not, but I'm not a rah. Trump is like a god and can do nothing wrong. The guy makes a lot of gaffes. He puts his foot in his mouth all the time. But I like the fact that he says it like it is. And if you don't like it, tough crap. Okay. Now, granted, he does a lot of stupid stuff, but I think he's trying. Okay. But you have these politicians. If it was anybody else that suggested it, they might think, okay. But if Trump suggested or Trump tries to implement it, then it's absolutely not. They don't want it. And then you have all these corrupt judges, right, that are continuing to, to throw out, this and that. Like Comley and Letitia James just got their things dismissed. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is the stuff that we get to deal with. We get to see every day. But I'm going to tell you what, guys, you or me, if we did those things that those people did, they would put us under the jail. They'd put us under the jail because, that would be the way it would go. What do we got? 145 people in the chat. I think people are too lazy to form one united front. I think that's a big part of the problem. That's a big part of the problem. So we got 145 people in here. We got 45 thumbs up, guys. So if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, that's like a third of the people that are here. If you would shoot a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. And thank you very much ahead of time for that. I really do appreciate it. Really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. The more interaction, the better it is for the channel. So I thank you for that reason as well. And also, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. And again, I thank you ahead of time. You know, I know like a lot of people, left or right, don't matter what side of the aisle they're on, right? In a lot of these states, New York, California, Illinois, okay, that's just an example of three. They're getting the hell out of there. They're leaving because they've had enough. There's only so much you can take. You know, coming back here to New York and being here for this week, I've talked to a lot of people, talked to strangers because I talk to everybody. I was talking to a guy at the gas station today. I had to get gas, and he had a Rottweiler in his truck, and that's how the conversation started. And we were talking about dogs, and and he was like, he's had that dog since the dog was 5 weeks old. He goes, and the dog goes everywhere with him and all that. We're having a conversation, and I'm like, yeah, I used to live here. I said I'm up for vacation. I said I live in West Virginia. And I go, oh man, and that consensus that I get from the people that I've been talking, just random strangers, right, or people that I know, and it's always the same. New York sucks. I wish I could get out of here. These lunatics that are in the government in New York State are destroying the state all the time, all the time. So what's your favorite turkey, ham, or chicken for the holiday? Turkey, Helen, definitely turkey. But, people are fed up. They've had enough. They want things to be different, but they're not going to be different in New York. They're just not. The weather's going to suck, right, for 6 months out of the year generally, not always, but most of the time, 6 months out of the year, the weather's going to suck up here. That's just a fact. That's just the way it goes. And then if you have a wet summer, let's say, right, there goes your sunshine and your summer and the good weather. It's gone. And then you're right back to the cold weather again. So the weather's horrible. The taxes up here are outrageous, and they keep going up. They don't go down. I've talked to a lot of people dealing with RG&E and NYSEG, which are the two utility companies up here. If I had a way to get out of Illinois, I would move. I do not have any family left here, any other than my wife and her family. Well, I'll tell you what. For me, I just got to a point. I got to a breaking point. Once the kids were grown, I was done. I was absolutely done. Josh Farrell says a federal judge is moving to block the Coast Guard from moving a helicopter. A bunch of people are trying to pick on the U.S. Coast Guard DO. Thank you very much for that information, Josh, and thank you very much for the donation as well. Yeah, it's ridiculous what's going on. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. So they're like so upset, right? They're so upset that they've kicked out all these transgender people out of the military, right? They're all up in arms about that. Well, they served honorably and they're good people and blah, 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 which I'm sure a lot of them are, all right? But I'm sorry, when you're in the military, what you're dealing with, for the most part, let's be honest, is a bunch of alpha males, right? Or wannabe alpha males. The last thing they want to be led by is somebody who is totally against what they stand for. They don't. But yet, if this person is, a career soldier, and let's say they're, an E7 or an E8, they're in a position of power, right? So they have a lot of control over people. And so, you have to have a cohesiveness. And like I said, again, guys, I don't care what anybody does. If you're a civilian and you want to do this, that, or the other thing, knock yourself out. I don't care. Okay, I really don't. But you have to understand, if you're in the military, it's a different mindset. I had somebody in a comment, and it went into my spam comments, but I'm going to mention it in the chat here. And because I had mentioned in the video that I did, about soldiers. When I'm going to give you an example of something, okay? When I came out of basic training at 19 years old, just finished basic and AIT, and was heading to my first permanent duty station, I was gung ho, folks. I mean, and that's how they remold you, right? So if they had said to me back then, go in that direction and kill those people, you do it without question because you're trained. You don't question orders. You don't, and the thing is, if it's an enemy, if it's an enemy, if it's civilians, obviously you're not going to go and just kill civilians because somebody says go kill civilians. That's not what I was saying. The point that I was making, right, was that when you are given orders in the military, you obey orders, period. End of story. Well, so this person gets on there and they were like, oh, well, you would have made a good Nazi. They're a moron because they have no idea what they're talking about. You don't understand unless you've been in the service, then you will never understand. Okay. And that's what, that's what I'm going to say. Obey lawful orders. Right. Billy the Kid Norwood. Exactly. Like I said, you're not going to do something like if there's 10 kids and they say, go bash their heads in, you're probably not going to do that. There will be people that will, I'll tell you that right now, but morally it's reprehensible and you wouldn't do it. Okay. But let me ask you guys this, right? And again, I'm going to refer to this a lot because of the fact is this was my wake up call, folks. Hurricane Katrina, right? Hurricane Katrina. When the military finally went in there, the first thing that they did was what? Do you remember what the first thing they did? I'll give you guys a minute in the comments and I'll tell you what the first thing that they did at that point. First thing that they did when the military finally went in to help at Hurricane Katrina. What was the first thing that they did, folks? Yep, you guys are right on it. They disarmed the people. Is that constitutional? Did they have a right to do that? Right? But they're in the military and they were given an order and they did what they were told. Now that was not a proper order because those people had the right to be able to defend themselves. But the first thing that they did was go in and disarm the people. So don't think that they're on your side or they're watching out for you and they give a crap about you. They let those people sit down there and rot until they finally got it figured out what they were doing. The response on that was horrific. And a lot of people lost their lives because of that, okay? So don't forget those things. Those are lessons. Again, I'm a big proponent of studying history. I love to study history because history will repeat itself. Nazi Germany, what was one of the first things that they did? They disarmed the populace. When they disarm you, you can't fight back, okay? But yeah, it's just that's one of the things that people don't get. They don't get it. They pretend like it didn't happen. I wasn't aware, whatever. You need to pay attention because if they decide they're going to do something, they're going to do it. And a lot of soldiers are going to obey without question. So that's something you need to think about, really need to think about. So just putting that out there ahead of time. But again, so right now you have crime is pretty bad all over the place, right? A lot of people are really, really unhappy. They're not happy with the way things are going, the way our society is going, what's happening in a lot of these cities. They're just disgusted. And like I said, a lot of people are leaving blue states. I mean, let's be honest, I take my guns and gold on my boat fishing. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I was laughing. I was looking at something, and they were talking about how many guns are in the United States. And the guy that they were speaking with, which I thought this was hilarious because this is pretty much spot on. He says, well, I think he was like, I have 5 or 6 that they know about. And I won't say how many they don't know about. And a lot of people have a lot of weaponry that they don't know about because it didn't have to be registered. It's not registered, or they acquired it through whatever way they acquired it through time. And so, they have it, period. It's there. Um, so it's like, if they come and knock on your door and say, okay, we know you bought, because this is what they're going to do. If it ever comes to that point, which hopefully it never will in this country, they would go with the newest people that just purchased weapons, and they would go to their houses first and say, we know you purchased this, this, and this. Where is it? We want it. Right? That's what they would do. If you bought a weapon 15 years ago, and even if you did it through the proper channels and had to do the background check and whatever, who knows if you even still have that weapon 15 years later? You might not. You might have resold it or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, Ed, better off that nobody knows what you got. You are right about that, Delbert. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, you guys see me on video in West Virginia. I'm always armed, okay? Because number one, I live in the middle of the woods. If I'm going to go out and do something, I'm obviously going to carry. But, that's what you see. You don't see me with rifles. You don't see me with anything else. I'm not having 8 guns and I'm carrying 8 guns around or whatever the case may be. You're never going to see that. So I'm not trying to advertise what I got. I carry every day, number one, because it's my God-given right to be able to do so. And number two, it's like, when you live in the middle of the woods, you are not the apex predator. You're just not. Okay. So, you have to think about those things, but yeah, it's just, and when you go out in public, obviously there's a lot of people out there that are not mentally stable, that are unhinged, that you better be ready to do what you need to do. Yeah, gun registration is a violation of the Second Amendment. I agree 100%, Josh. But I will tell you what, and I'll be honest with you, I did not bring my pistol with me to New York because I know that if I got pulled over here in New York and I had my pistol on me, it's not legal in New York. And they will crucify you in this communist state. Okay. So I'm not going to take a chance. I'm not going to be stupid. Now, I'm not saying I'm not unarmed. Okay. But I'm not, I don't have my pistol with me. And that's because I'm smart enough to realize that I need to be smart, in that situation. So, but, like getting up every day, part of my routine is putting that on my hip. So to not have that, here is weird, now, because I'm so used to doing that every single day without question. And the best part is you go out in public and nobody bats an eye. You know what I mean? Yeah, choose your battles wisely. Yeah, it's not like I would walk around up here open carrying because it's my God-given right and the Second Amendment and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, then you end up in jail, and I don't have no intention of going to jail for something stupid. I'm not doing it. Like you said, you pick your battles. So, I know how New York is. I've dealt with the system here in New York. And, that's just how it goes. You are very discreet when you carry. In you being out in the wild like you are, you need to keep the wildlife at bay. Well, the thing is, it's like, you're in the woods. If something comes out of the woods that has bad intentions for you on 4 legs or 2, the last thing I want to be doing is holding my hat in my hand. I don't want to hold that in my hand. I want to be able to do something about it. So, right, as long as you don't act or do something threatening. Exactly. And that's the thing, like, in West Virginia. I've talked to several cops in West Virginia, and, they're absolutely cool with people carrying. They have no problem with it. Like I said, but that doesn't mean you go out and start brandishing your weapon and making threats to people or acting all stupid. You know what I mean? You don't do that. It's a tool. If you have a tool belt, right? If you're an electrician, you have your wire strippers in your tool belt, right? It's all a weapon is. It's a tool. It's there as a reminder to certain people. It's not time to act stupid. And it's a deterrent, right? Because people go, I was going to do this or that, but this dude is carrying, and, they'll make proper decisions based on that. Ed, I was out fishing and a black bear came out of the woods, smelled my fish I just caught, and I had a bang bang scared it off. No, and that's exactly it, and that's part of it as well. It's not always about they identified. Hold on, guys. I'm going to look at something real quick. I'm going to look at. Let's see. I want to see what this says. Hold on. I'll be right back. You can still hear me, but you won't see me for a second. Man suspected of shooting 2 National Guardsmen identified in D.C. Identified an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 and living. Hold on one second. I wanted to read this right to you right away. Where's the rest of that? Yeah, but apparently the guy was living. Hold on, guys. I want to look at this real quick. Well, there's that. There we go. So an Afghan national, surprise, surprise, right? With all the stuff. And again, who's fanning these flames, right? I want you guys to think about it. Who's fanning these flames? It is absolutely 100% the Democrats. That, there's no ifs, ands, or about it. I don't know if he was an illegal. We did bring a bunch of Afghans over here after, so I don't know if this person was one of them that came over, but, the problem is this. And there was, and we're gonna break it down real simple with this. And this isn't being anything negative about anybody, but you have a lot of these countries with high Muslim populations, right? And there's a lot of inbreeding. A lot of them are marrying first cousins. It happens a lot, and it's proven that if there is that inbreeding like that, the intelligence goes down. They are not as smart. There's a lot more health issues because of such a close blood relationship to the other person. So that's an issue. All right. A lot of these folks, and I'm not saying all, so please don't put those words in my mouth, but a lot of these folks do not want to assimilate. They don't want to be part of the American melting pot. They want to come over here and do the same crap that they were doing in their country, and they want you to assimilate to them with their Sharia law and the burqas and all that other nonsense, okay? And they hate you, right, because you're not a Muslim, which, it's unfortunate, but that's the facts. And like I said, again, not all. So please don't say all, but a large majority of them. You look at what's going on in Dearborn, Michigan right now. They're telling Christians get out, right? Because now they have the power, they have the numbers. So as soon as they'll be nice, right? Until they can get control. Then once they get control, then you're a piece of garbage and they want you out. So, that's an issue. That's an issue. I'm sorry. But if we do that, right? Well, then we're horrible. We're terrible. And, I'm going to tell you what. I am so over the whole white man bad, everybody else is good, right? I'm so over it. I will never be an apologist, right? I have never owned anybody. My grandparents didn't own anybody. My parents didn't own anybody. And even farther back than that, they didn't own nobody. They were immigrants that came over here, all right? So, I get so sick and tired. I'll tell you what I get tired of more than anything else. And it don't matter what color you are. A lot of people are like this now, that victim mentality. I'm so sick and tired of people. Do you think Mandani is going to pull that in New York City? Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. 100% he's going to pull that in New York City. But, I believe. That's my opinion, JJ. My opinion only, okay? But yeah, let's put it like this. It would not surprise me at all. I would just say, I'll say it like that. It would not surprise me at all, now that he's the mayor down there. And they voted him in. So there's that old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. But, like I said, our society in whole has gone right down the toilet, right down the toilet. You're beginning to understand Islam. Mandani is already asking city workers to resign in New York City when he takes office. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I saw one of the guys that he wants to put in. Oh my God, what was that guy? He was one of those guys about the whole reparations crap and how, evil white men are and stuff like that. Here's what kills me. Okay. Here's what kills me. Slavery in two parts of the world is still rampant. Still rampant. Okay. Still rampant. And it's the two places where slavery, if you will, began. Right? No, I'm in Heather's house, Okie Forge. I'm in Heather's place. One is Africa, and the other one's the Middle East, right? They've had slavery forever. So, and I think a lot of people forget too. Who remembers who the real first slaves here in the States were? Because they don't talk about these slaves in the United States. Only if you're dark skinned, you get talked about being a slave. There was another group of people in the United States who were slaves. You know who those people were? And again, in the comments first, and then I will tell you. Oh, some of you guys are so smart. Yep. Irish. The Irish. Yep, they were the first slaves, guys. And just so you know, Irish are white folks. But they were over here as slaves. So, but we don't talk about that because why? Well, that doesn't fit the narrative. We can't have the victim mentality and, oh, poor me, and I'm not successful in life because I'm downtrodden by everybody else because I'm not responsible for my own actions. Oh, absolutely not. We can't do that, right? Don't take personal responsibility. It's just, that's what I get tired of. All right. Everybody out here, everybody watching right now, everybody, in the United States, for the most part, I'm sure there's probably places where some things are going on that shouldn't go on. But in the majority, in the United States, there is no slavery. Okay. So you're not owning any slaves. I'm not owning any slaves. You haven't been a slave. Neither have I. Okay. So, in the way that the system is set up, it's advantageous for everybody else except a white man. And that's a fact. Tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong in that. Right? Every advantage goes to everybody else except for straight white males. Period. So, but anyway, it's just, that is what it is. It's not going to change. Lamb's light. I'm late again. It happens. It happens. So what do we got? 223 in the chat, guys. We got 100 thumbs up. So I'm going to ask you again real quick. If you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so. And thank you very much ahead of time. I do appreciate it. It really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. And I appreciate it for that reason as well. Also, again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. And I thank you ahead of time. All right. So, yeah, I get so tired of our society. I really do. You watch the legacy news media and it's like, we're right back to where we were before during the first Trump administration, realistically, right? And this is what kills me more than anything else. Oh, well, Trump has got cognitive decline. He's showing signs of dementia, blah, 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 right? But yet, during the entire 4 years of the Biden administration, nobody said boo about him wandering off and fumbling over this and making incoherent sentences and not saying anything. That was perfectly fine. But now, Trump is this, Trump is that. So my son went to medical school. He didn't qualify for certain scholarships because he was a white Appalachian male. There you go. Yep, that's how it goes. Well, I'll tell you what, true story. I go into nursing school. We're in nursing school, right? And it was a mix of white, black, and Hispanic, so it was a little bit of everybody. And we're in the cafeteria one day, and one black student was talking to another black student, and I heard the conversation, never forget it. They were like, "You need to get down to XYZ office because you're in school. They will give you $2,000, no questions asked, just because you're black." And here I am, doing student loans, working, trying to get through school to better educate myself. And these people are getting a handout just because they're a certain color. It was, to me, that was insane. It's insulting. And it should be insulting to black people too, you know? So, but yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just it's something that continues to go on, and it's never going to change until people say enough is enough, and we won't, we won't, because like somebody had said earlier, we're too lazy to get organized to work together, and that's the biggest problem. They can keep you distracted, keep you unfocused, and you know what I mean. So, oh yeah, well, the paid protesters, yeah, you got these idiots that are traveling all around the country, going to these different events because they're getting paid to do it. That's insane. You know, they don't care about the cause. They don't care about the people. They're getting paid because if they cared, they do it for free, right? If it was so near and dear to their heart, they would do it out of their own pocket. But they're getting paid to protest. And then, heaven forbid, that a conservative comes up and starts asking people questions, then they're going to interfere and come in between and be like, don't talk to them. They're right wing news and blah, blah, blah. So, yes. Yeah, that's Kim makes a good point. What's insulting is someone unqualified being promoted for their nationality, though they are incompetent. That's a very good point. That is a very, very good point. Yeah, that's a huge problem. Underqualified people in positions that you need. Well, I just saw a video, okay? And listen, guys, so don't take this the wrong way, please, okay? But this is reality. I'm a reality based person. Police officer dealing with a confrontation with this guy, female cop, trying to de escalate whatever. The guy gets aggressive. Her taser, she deployed her taser, it didn't work. So now they're wrapped up. He's trying to get her gun. She already should have had her gun out. She should have put him in the ground. Okay. Backup shows up, a male, tackles the guy. They get him down on the ground. You know, Relying on female police officers that don't have the strength and don't have the wherewithal to be able to handle situations like that. Okay. That puts other police officers in dangers. It's same thing with firefighters, right? You need to have the best qualified people in there as a firefighter, not getting points, extra points because they're female or they're a different color or whatever. You need to have the best because those are things that are life and death. They're life and death, So, but yeah, intelligence and bravery can be equal, but not strength. Exactly. And men are stronger than women. That's a fact. That's a fact. So, would you go into surgery asking what color your surgeon is? Absolutely not. That's not. We're not even talking about that. We're not even talking about that. I'm talking. See, you see, and of course, people are going to take things out of context, right? They're going to take things out of context. What I'm saying is, when you have a physical job, if you're a surgeon, it's not a physical job. Hopefully, you have the best qualified surgeon that knows what they're doing and that they're the one taking care of you. And in that case, you don't give a crap if it's male, female. My cancer doctor, folks, was female. I had the utmost confidence in her. She was one of the top surgeons in doing what she did. Obviously, she did a good job because my behind is still here. I didn't say, oh, I don't want her operating on me because she's a woman. Absolutely not. So, but, oh, you're talking about DEI based employment. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't know what you were talking about. Yes. The DEI stuff is ridiculous. Should not be happening. Should not be happening. I've been operated on by a Korean woman. She was an excellent surgeon. Yeah. Like I said, when it comes to that, that's not based on your strength, right? That's based on your intelligence, your training. You know, surgery is, it's a mental thing, and it's a skill thing, obviously. So yeah, I like I said, when it comes to that, I got no problem with any of that. But like I said again, if I'm a cop and I'm waiting for backup and I'm fighting 2, 3 guys, having that small 110-pound female show up, that's not going to help unless she pulls out and starts shooting people. Okay. And a lot of them don't have that in them. They don't. Sorry. I'm honest. I just say it like it is. You've watched enough of those videos, you'll see it time and time again. The guy comes in because he's got to save the day. And he's going to save the day because it's a fellow police officer, and he don't care if it's female or not. But I will tell you what, there absolutely is resentment. Guaranteed there's resentment. So, when you have like firefighting, you're talking about a lot of heavy gear that these, people are wearing. And, and now you got to carry dead weight, right? Because you have somebody that's a liability. They're not an asset. And that's the problem. That's my take on it. Okay. So, I'll tell you what, being a nurse, I had a lot of people said, I prefer a male nurse because you have the strength and you can do what you need to do. And that's part of the job. So, that's all part of it. So, but DEI issues have caused a lot of deaths due to incompetence. Well, look at some of the people they put in positions of power. You know what I mean? When you have these officials making piss poor decisions, it's just, look, California's a great example of that, folks. Just a great example. The forest management is a disaster, because we're saving the spotted owl, but we'll let, hundreds of millions of homes burn to the ground and people lose everything that they had. So, yeah, no Hoyer lift, call the male nurse. I will tell you what. So I'll just give you an example of something. There would be a lot of times I would have the CNA said, hey, could you help me with a lift? And it'd be a good sized person, like 250 plus, right? And it's supposed to be, you help them. I knew it would be better for me to do it by myself than to have them help, because if they screwed up, it's my back. So 9 times out of 10, I would say, just step aside. I got it. And I would pick them up, pop them in the chair or whatever, or the porta potty or whatever it was that they were going on. I would just do it because it was easier for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't, they didn't have the strength. They just didn't. And I wasn't going to risk my back because I've had that happen. I learned early on, you're helping somebody with a lift and they're not doing their part. Now you're getting all twisted up. It's just not worth it. I would rather just go, step aside. I got it. And they don't care. They're like, yeah, cool. So, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. Exactly. So, but going back to talking about the original stuff of this video, a lot of these cities, like I say, crime is rampant. They're wanting to send in the National Guard to help. And these moron politicians, because it's Trump, don't want it. We don't want the help. Look at Portland. Portland's a nightmare. Look at Chicago. Chicago's a nightmare. And they're doing everything that they can to stop them from coming in to help. That's insane. To me it is. I mean, I don't get that mindset. But again, I'm going to continue to encourage you guys, if you live in cities, get out of those cities if you can. Get out of there. Get out of red or blue states, because it's like they're not helping you, right? They're helping the criminals. Revolving door crap. It's insane, And somebody had said earlier, that when Biden was in, he was packing the courts full of liberal judges. And that's also part of the problem. So now what happens is every time you turn around, and they're trying to do something, you got some liberal judge doing everything that they possibly can to jam up those orders or whatever the case may be. So, but I saw that because of this shooting, they just are going to add another. They're asking for another 500 National Guard for Washington D.C. Oh, and by the way, crime is down exponentially in Washington D.C. Can you believe it? Shocking. You bring in the National Guard, and crime goes down. Wow, who would have thunk it, right? Who would have thought it? So. Yeah, I hear you. Illinois governor. Well, you look at Tim Walz up there in Minnesota. What a joke. I mean, the guy's a joke, And he's mad because they didn't inform him of an ICE operation. So let's talk about that for a little bit, guys, right? Let's talk about that. You have these agents, and they're like all upset because they're wearing masks because they're being doxxed by these morons out there, right? They're being doxxed by these morons. So their families are being targeted. They're going to places where these people live and causing problems. So, yeah, I get it. I would cover up too. I would have a mask on too. And then, they're calling. So here's what I find funny. I mentioned this in my private live stream. I'm going to mention it in here too. So they're calling the ICE agents Nazis, right? They're Nazis because they're doing their job. Like I said, I love history and I follow history, and I think history is fascinating. When Germany, as they were working on getting power, they had the brown shirts, right? They had the brown shirts. And what the brown shirts would do is they would go around and intimidate people, beat people up, cause chaos and upheaval, right? Does that remind you of a group of people, folks? Does that remind you of anybody? It does for me. That reminds me of Antifa, right? What's their job? Their job is to go in, cause upheaval, beat people up, loot, rob, steal, attack government officials, government agencies and all that type of stuff. So, what Antifa is, they are the brown shirts of Nazi Germany for the Democratic Party. So think about that. Think about that, right? Same thing, same exact thing. So something to think about, got to pay attention. You got to pay attention because history will repeat itself. They'll use the same playbook because it works. That's why they do it. They do the same playbook because it works. So I hope everybody's ready for Thanksgiving tomorrow in the States that goes to Thanksgiving. My European friends and my Canadian friends, you guys do all that on a different day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This, like I said, favorite holiday. I was born and lived in New York for 20 years. I moved to West Virginia and have lived here for 55 years. You could not pay me enough to move back to New York. Oh, I tell you what, Judy. I have told people have asked me, and I said, let me make it clear. Let me make it completely clear. I will never, ever live in New York again. Ever. Never going to happen. No desire for it. No wanting to. I miss friends and family? Sure. I like this region down here where the homestead is. It's a good area, but the taxes, the weather, the mindset, the gun laws, all that. There's so many negatives. I can't even begin to tell you. And so Dems are intentionally trying to create a civil war. Well, they want that kind of upheaval. They definitely want that upheaval. And, when you have the Democrats going on there and telling, soldiers to disobey orders, but then they can't be clear of what orders they should disobey. I like that part of it too, And now that, I just watched the one woman, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she was the one that organized that video. There was 6 of them that did the video, and she was the one that organized that. And now the FBI is talking to them, investigating the situation. And she goes, and this is the reason why we made this video. Why? Because you don't like it when people hold you accountable for your actions? Heaven forbid. Why should you be held accountable? Here's what kills me. Charlie Kirk was killed as a direct result of the propaganda that's been put out in the legacy news media. Tell me if I'm wrong in that statement. Tell me if I'm wrong, right? When constantly you are being told. So you have to understand. So first of all, we're dealing with mentally challenged people, okay? They're not thinking clearly, obviously. If you pick up a weapon and assassinate somebody, you're not thinking clearly, okay? But so you have people that are not mentally stable, I guess is the right word, all right? You have people that are not mentally stable, and they're being inundated constantly. These people are Nazis. They're bad. They deserve to die. We should do violence against them. That's the rhetoric, folks. That's the rhetoric, programming, exactly. So at some point, when one of these lunatics picks up and does something, then the left is like, oh, we're so sad for his family. They don't care. They got exactly what they wanted. Because what happens is in those, and in that video, the majority of them say they served. I saw that. And again, yeah, then they should know better, JJ. They should know better. So that's my take on that one. I lost my train of thought here. What was I was saying? But like I said, the rhetoric doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. And so, this is a result of that, and it's their own fault. And then, of course, they want to deflect. When you have politicians inciting violence, right? Maxine Waters is a good example. And we could do a laundry list down the road of a whole bunch of them, all right? Advocating for violence. Rise up, fight against it. The tyranny, the dictatorship, the no kings, all that nonsense. Here's what we need to find out, right? Who finances all that? Who's financing these protests? Who's paying these paid protesters? And that's who they should go after, right? That's who they should go after. They won't, but that's who they should go after. Because, Soros is one of them. But, and they do it, they channel it through these little different organizations that they have. So. I feel the melting pot theory is in use in schools along with the assemblies taught folklore and history. Okay. Senility gallops through the Congress. Yeah, a lot of them need to go. Maxine Waters needs to, and there's plenty of Republicans that need to hang up their shingle as well. They need to move on, go do something else. It's just, enough is enough. That's realistically what it comes down to. Enough is enough. Again, why do we prep? Why do we get ready? Why do we do what we do? Because you never know what's going to happen. And I would rather not be caught with my pants down. I want to be ready for whatever event comes and deal with it at that point, and deal with it from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. If you're in a position of weakness, Mitch McConnell would be one. He's got to go. Absolutely. But that's what prepping is. It's about advantage. It's about strategy. It's about having a game plan, They've been talking about term limits for years, but here we are. They'll never vote in term limits. They're never going to do it because it's detrimental to them. They want to be there. They want to be there for 30 and 40 years because they can just make more and more and more money. So, but Yeah, one term, six years, no reelection limits, eliminates a lot of lobbying. Oh, so let's talk about this for a second. So, come to find out, Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning, but she's resigning January 5th. Well, January 2nd puts her at the 5-year mark, right? Which means she gets full benefits, full retirement, the whole 9 yards. So that's why I'm like, why, if she's resigning, why that date? Well, that was why, because then she's got her 5 years in and she'll get a full retirement, and she'll be good to go. So, and then they get a check forever, which is another thing, that should not be 5 years. How many jobs have y'all had out there that you've worked 5 years at, left, and got a retirement from? Let me ask you that. I guarantee you I know what the answer is: zero. Zero. So, but, and again, if they did term limits, then that lobbyist would have nothing to be able to do. No, there's no egg count to give you guys. There's no egg count to give you. The chickens up here ain't laying. And I'm not in West Virginia. So when we get back, we'll get back into our normal routine of things when I get back to West Virginia. I will not be live streaming on Friday, just to put it out there ahead of time, because I will be on the road heading back. So just letting you know ahead of time. So when you see a video Saturday, you'll go, oh, he's back in West Virginia. So, now the church chickens up here are just too old. Yes, Becky made peanut butter cookies. Yes, she did. Yeah, I just talked to her today, and she was like, "Yep, I made peanut butter cookies," and I'm like, "Awesome." So, I generally drive later at night, Bernie, but and I drive later at night on purpose because nobody's on the road. That's why I like to be on the road later. Yeah, not to mention people paying a Social Security all their lives, and in the end they get screwed. It happens a lot, unfortunately. Happens a lot. But yeah, it's so what do we got? Thank you for the live chat. Well, you're welcome, Chris. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We got 141 thumbs up. We got like 3 minutes. Let's get this up over 150 just because why not? Danger Time saw 3 people run red lights today. Oh, yeah. Everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry. So, yeah, that's a fun part of dealing with society. Like I said, that's why I like to drive at night, because at night, nobody's on the road. Truckers, that's it. Very few cars. So you got to deal with a lot less nonsense. So we got 144. We need 6 more thumbs up, guys. 6 more thumbs up. So I appreciate it if you would do that. But ham, not turkey here. No, I got to have the turkey. It's got white meat of the turkey. Yep. When you're back home. I'll have a video out that day on the Saturday. You'll see a 3:00 video on the Saturday. And I'll probably have hella straight up my behind. How long is the drive home? About 8.5 hours. It's like 537 miles in that range. So yeah, it's a long drive. It's a long drive. It's 8.5, and that's with 2 stops. I stopped twice. So I'll gas up, I'll have a full tank before I leave here. And then I generally stop in Pennsylvania in one place, and then I stop in as soon as I get across the border into West Virginia. There's another place I normally go to, and I gas up there. And then that will get me home, and I'll be good to go. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with my favorite saying, STD, step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, it doesn't have to be about living off grid. It doesn't have to be about prepping. It's whatever you're striving to accomplish. If you work at it methodically, you can accomplish anything that you set your mind to. Uh, the only person that can stop you, the only person that can hold you back is going to be you. But you have to set realistic goals that you can reach. That's the important part of it, okay? Um, Take care of your business, stay away from negativity, stay away from negative people, and you're going to be just fine. Everybody, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Uh, please be safe. Don't drink and drive. Be very careful. Keep your head on a swivel. Yes, and let's go Cowboys. Let's beat Kansas City at home on Thanksgiving. That would be awesome. So Kansas City's not the team they used to be, but they're still dangerous. But hopefully, hey, we just upset Philly, and we weren't supposed to beat Philly, so that was awesome. So hopefully they will keep that momentum going. I'd laugh if they end up making the playoffs after starting off so horribly this year. But you never know. You never know. So anyway, guys, please be safe. I will talk to you all later. Prepper Nurse 1 out for now. Come on.